and look at the flood of attendees. Not just yet, not just yet, not just yet. And Phil, you can see my screen, okay? Can you see mine? Does that green show up pretty good?
Green?
Green pointer. Do you see the green pointer on my screen?
It's okay. It doesn't look like much. Now it looks better.
I just like looking for a way to make it easier. Hey, good morning or good afternoon, Aaron. Thanks so much for coming today. Really appreciate it. We're going to get started probably about 3 minutes after the hour, but we're going to actually post some credentials for you to get in and some directions to get into the hands-on lab. So if you could just point your attention to the chat window, you'll go there, open up a guest browser so you don't mess up with your credentials, and then type in CIE 3 at Azure Direct, and then use the Beetle Azure. I can't do it. Beetle Azure's 1-2 bang to get into the lab. And when you're comfortable, Aaron, would you mind just unmuting and maybe just introducing yourself, just saying hello and maybe kind of what you're here to learn? We'd love to hear from you. Well, I wonder if this setting is just a little too big. I think this mouse. What do you think?
It's not bad.
Good afternoon, Alyssa Rousseau. How are you today? Alyssa, if you could do us a favor, point your attention over to the chat window, and we're going to be providing you some credentials to get into the hands-on lab. And if you would be so kind, after you get in, to maybe unmute and just introduce yourself, and maybe why you came to the lab today will help me understand. I'd really appreciate it. Or if you don't feel comfortable talking, just do it in the chat window. You can just type it in there. And same with you, Aaron, if you can hear me. Really appreciate that. All right, who just joined as Melody? I think, is that Tad? Who just joined as a panelist? Maybe it isn't Melody, who knows?
I think it's Ted.
Well, we got a rough start here. We can't get anyone to say anything. All right. Hey, Jim, Lay, good afternoon. Thanks so much for coming today. If you could unmute, just introduce yourself. We'd really appreciate it. Or if you can't talk, come to the chat window and let us know. Good afternoon, Adam. Thank you so much for coming here. Appreciate this. Okay, Jim from Daiwa. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Adam, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself, you can either unmute or just put it in the chat. Really appreciate it. Adam goes. Okay, thank you, Adam. For those who are, and I think we're waiting for Alyssa and Aaron, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and maybe why you came to the session here today, we'd really appreciate it. So we're going to be starting about 3 minutes after the hour. We're just waiting for our one of our presenters. Hey, Adam, we're actually putting your credentials in the chat window. So if you go to your chat window, and you'll see this, I'll show you here. If you look at my screen, Adam, we put your credentials into the hands-on lab portion of this environment. So you'll basically open up a guest browser incognito so it doesn't mess up your credentials, and then go to portal.azure.com. Okay, awesome. All right, so we have Mike Elduff who's come in here. Mike, great job. Thank you so much for coming today. And then we also have Jay Codron. Thanks so much for coming today. If you could please unmute and just introduce yourself, or come to the chat window and just introduce yourself there, maybe your name, your company, why you came to the event today. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get some feedback going on here. All right, good. Bill McDonald, hey, good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for coming today. And then we also have Known Lamb. Thank you so much for coming today. Mike or Known, if you could unmute, maybe just introduce yourself and tell us maybe why you came to the hands-on lab today. We'd love to just learn about what's going on.
Yeah, hey, good morning. This is Bill. I was just joining to kind of get an overview of everything that you were offering here, and I'm not sure if I'm going to have availability to stay the whole time, but I will try to participate where I can.
Well, Bill, thanks so much for I really appreciate you coming off mute. Sometimes, you know, when you talk into these videos, you don't know who's where's what. So yeah, this will be great. It's a tour of the Azure portal, and we're going to help you really understand the pitfalls of what to do and what not to do. And then we're also giving you credentials. So if you look at the chat window, go to an incognito browser, you know, and then open up and use those credentials to go to portal.azure.com, and those are your credentials. Get in, and then we'll get started here in just a minute. Okay. Jay, Codron, do you have access to a mic, or are you on?
Yeah,
there you are.
I'm on the phone.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Hi. So you need us to go to a portal.
Yeah, so if you see the chat window, okay, basically, we've given you credentials. Okay, so you go to portal.azure.com, and in the chat window, you're CIE 8 at azuredirect.com, and then the password is Beetle Azus, Azus, 12 bang. Okay, we can't ever do this password again. I can't do this. Awesome. And Jay, what are you what are you looking to learn today? Or is there anything specific?
Yeah, I just want to get a basic overview, and like the last gentleman, I have a meeting that's coming up in a little bit, so I'm going to get as much as I can out of this, and I will keep it open and keep working while I'm in this other meeting. So unfortunately, my boss takes precedence over everything I do.
Oh, 100%. We totally understand that one. We totally do. You know, 100%. But today will be good for you, and we'll send you the recording too if you miss something.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, Jared. Jared, if you could maybe just unmute and introduce yourself, maybe what you're here to learn. And we're providing you credentials in the chat window, so we'll provide those for you, Jared. And then I think we had somebody calling in from area code 503.
I just here to learn about the Azure.
Okay, cool. You know, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to send out a quick poll just to kind of see where we're all at, you know, whether you're beginner, intermediate, or advanced, and then we're going to get started relatively soon, okay? So now for all those who've just joined, we've actually put the credentials to get into the hands-on lab portion of the event in the chat window. So like for Prakash, go to portal at your CIE 12, Jared, your CIE 11, and then we'll get going here. I think we're good. And let's see, do we have anyone from ISSQUARED on?
Hey, Sherman, it's Tad Dewey with ISSQUARED. How are you today?
Excellent, Tad. So Tad, why don't you go ahead and kick it off, and I'm gonna, do you have a video that you can turn on?
No video, just a quick introduction, Sherman, if that's okay.
Yeah, about you and ISSQUARED, that'd be great.
Yeah, so again, Tad Dewey with ISSQUARED. It's a pleasure to meet everyone. We work closely with the Crancer Group on workshops such as the one we're doing today. We help customers maximize their Microsoft investments. A lot of customers we find are, Microsoft customers. They're not really utilizing all the features and benefits of their Microsoft purchase. So where we come in is we work, closely with customers on training. We have different levels of expertise. So pleasure to meet everyone today, and thanks for attending the workshop.
All right, well, let's get started. So my name is Sherman Crancer. I'm your lead facilitator today. We have Phil Kent, who will show you here. He is actually our moderator. So he's gonna be moderating the actual the chat here today. So you've attended the Azure VM and Compute hands-on lab. So my role here, and to kind of give you a little bit of understanding of who I am, I spent the last 5 years at Microsoft. My company is actually the lead Azure Immersion Workshop company for the whole US and Canada subsidiaries for Microsoft. What does that mean? Well, we teach high-level 200, 300, 400 Azure classes for Microsoft, and they send us all their corporate and enterprise employees. Our role in this is to help you understand the Azure portal, to help you understand some of the pitfalls of deploying a virtual machine, and give you some ideas about security and optimization. Now, we have no toast in this toaster. Okay, so I wanted to just kind of explain that to you. My role is a facilitator. My role is to help you understand. And what Microsoft, they fund us to do this as a way to evangelize this product and resources. And then what we do at the conclusion of this is, if you're interested in learning more about some of these products or doing like an optimization workshop, we'll put you in touch with a company like ISSQUARED, like Tad. He's on this from ISSQUARED, and they're a specific set of gold partners. So today you can relax. This is not a timeshare. This is not a presentation. No problem. We're here to kind of really work and understand Microsoft Azure. So there's 3 ways of learning. There's one way of learning called death by PowerPoint. I'm classically trained. I can put you to sleep with 176 slides in 30 minutes, but we're not going to do that today. We actually have no slides today. The second way is just watching me do it. No problem. Sounds good. The third way is through this what's called the customer immersion experience. Now, part of this customer immersion experience is we give you access to a hands-on lab where you actually click and drag and touch and feel. And that's what's really important here, is we want to make sure that you understand it, okay? A lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about today is really based on helping you save your job, save your reputation. I'm going to give you guidance today, okay? Nobody's going to give you this type of guidance, but I'm going to give you guidance today on how to buy licensing, the right pitfalls, how to size a VM, how to, fundamental first steps of these things. Now, part of the customer immersion experience is we need some feedback from you, okay? We actually do, and I would really appreciate it if we could get some feedback. And what I mean by that is, if I'm asking you to come to the chat window and type in "good to go," that means you're good to go, right? You're good to go. Yeah, Mike, yeah. That's a great question. So if I ask you guys, okay, are you good to go? Just please come to the window and just type in GTG. You're good to go. Okay, so our first exercise right now is, if you're in the portal, please come to the chat window and type in GTG. And Mike, yes, you're absolutely correct. Beetle Azus, I can't even say it 3 times. So awesome. So great. We've got some people here giving us the good to goes. Okay, perfect. All right. So just a couple quick things, within Microsoft Azure. A lot of us, about Azure, right? So Azure comes out about 10 years ago. Very rudimentary. 7 years ago, it's really kind of, hey, we got our first things out there. I remember this before I went to Microsoft. I tried to provision a virtual machine, and the portal, it was just a Frankenstein. Let me tell you, it was terrible. And there's only 3 services there. Now there's 12 main services, 158 secondary services, 858 tertiary, and over 4,000 quad services that are out there that you can do inside of Azure. And the reason is because Microsoft from the very get-go said open source. We want independent software vendors, ISVs, to create stuff that's going to make our product go faster, quicker, better. Okay, that's basically what it is. Now, the footprint of Microsoft, there's 48 data center regions across the world, with over 192 data centers right now that are in, and that's more than AWS and Google combined times 2. Think about that, combined times 2. It's just enormous, and it's just taking over. And that's just a little bit about Azure. So, I mean, Azure by itself can be daunting. And what are we doing here, right? What today we're going to deploy Windows Data Center 2019. Okay, so you could have that type of server environment right now, but what we're really doing here is understanding the conceptual nature of bringing the box, the server that you have on premise, bringing that into the cloud. Okay, there's a lot of new things that are kind of happening, and I'm going to explain it to you. And please just raise your hand, give me a question if you want me to explain it a little bit more, okay? Alan, you think you just joined, good afternoon. We're gonna put your credentials in the chat window, so please go there and how to get into the hands-on lab. Okay, so back to where we're at with Azure, and we're getting started. We're gonna be clicking here in just a minute, okay? So I just got a couple more things. So I wanna talk about route to market, how to buy Azure. And there's 3 different ways of doing it. One is called the enterprise agreement. Now, the enterprise agreement is typically reserved for companies with 600 users and above, and you buy it on 3 years. You buy it through what's called a LAR, like a soft choice. These big companies that all they do are EA contracts. Now, there's really no support when it comes to an EA contract. You're probably working with a Microsoft team, they'll give you a little bit of support, but there really isn't, and you have to implement it yourself, okay? The second way of buying Azure is through the pay-as-you-go model. So literally, you go to azure.com and you spin up machines, you log in, and you put in your credit card, and no problem. Now, the issue with that, just to be frank with you, is support and understanding how to implement, right? So number 1 is support. If you have to find support, you put in a ticket, and the first thing you do is you end up to a 3rd world country, and you bounce to another 3rd world country data center or a support center, then to the Philippines, and then to the US. It's like 4 stops before you actually get any help. And you don't get any actual guidance on doing this. Now, the 3rd way is where Microsoft prefers you to go, and that's called the Cloud Solution Provider Program, CSP. And what that means is you're buying licensing through a certified gold Microsoft partner. Now, Microsoft is in the business of creating some great, awesome, amazing products, but you don't know, they're not in the business of supporting. Microsoft is built by partners. Now, these are IT companies, IT companies just like Tag's from ISSQUARED. They are a cloud solution provider. Now, the reason why you'd want to use this program over the other 2, I think, are 3 reasons. 1, when you buy through the CSP, they'll bill you. So instead of going directly to Microsoft says, I don't want to be in billing anymore. They bill you directly for your licensing, okay? And you might be able to get a couple percentage points off of your MSRP, which you cannot get in any other scenario. Number 2, they have direct support directly into Microsoft US. So if you ever have trouble with anything, you go to your CSP provider, open up a ticket, it gets resolved quicker. Now, the 3rd one that I like the most is they're going to help you with supporting your implementation. And that's what's important, because there's so many pitfalls that are associated with this, right? And optimizing your environment. That's another thing that people don't know a lot about, is how to optimize their environments, okay? And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Okay, so there's 3 routes to market. Just want to show that to you. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but awesome, right? Okay, so quickly, let me just show you a couple of things inside the portal. Now, your screen should look much like mine, where you have the menu bar right here, and then you have a contrast in the white area is your production environment. However, what you only see is one resource group, because that's what we've assigned to you, okay? So a few things I want to just click on, and want you follow me while I'm clicking on them, so you can understand where the right things are, okay? The very first thing I want you to click on and then forget is this feedback button, top right-hand corner. You see my big green hand. We're not going to ever click on that again, because I don't think that this feedback button goes anywhere. Okay, I used to work at Microsoft. I got in trouble for asking where this went. So now I just tell everybody don't use it. Okay, so click back off. Next one is the question mark button. And this is actually really important to understand. So please pay attention here. There's 2 things here. One is you can create a help and support ticket, but that's not what's important about this. What's most important is this view service health. So I want everybody to the top right-hand corner, go ahead and click on service health. And the reason we're doing this is because what we're doing is looking at the service health of our deployments as from an Azure perspective. Now, we don't have any advisories. If we did, we'd have a red mark here, and under here, we would have remediation, we have health advisories. But the reason why you need to know where this is because if your session goes down for some reason, some odd reason, something happens to it, you want to have, for compliance purposes, you need to have an explanation of what happened. This is where the explanation will go if an Azure resource goes down that was unplanned. So typically I tell people, hey, if you're hearing it in the news, go to service health and figure out if you're being affected. That's kind of a thing. Okay, let's close out here. Top right-hand corner, X. Okay. Next is the bell icon, super simple. This is where all your notifications are. We're going to check this a lot. This is a pro tip number 1. This is what we use at Azure and Microsoft all the time, is we're monitoring all of our deployments as they go along. super awesome button. Please remember that one. Okay. The last one I'm going to show you here is the Cloud Shell. I want you to click on Cloud Shell really quickly. And that's I'm going to keep my finger hovered over that so you can see my screen. There's 3 ways to deploy Azure. One is through the portal, okay, that we're going to be talking about today. They have wizards, so it just will not allow you to deploy a Frankenstein motion. And then number 2, you can use Cloud Shell. So that's what we just pushed up here, where we can use PowerShell or Bash commands, right, to go ahead and put some things in there. Now, we're not going to use that today, but the third way is opening like a code editor, right, on your desktop and connecting that to Azure and then publishing like your app settings.jsons, right, or your publish your your apps right directly to Microsoft. So these are really the 3 ways of doing it. Today we're going to be doing the portal. So awesome. Okay, cool. Okay, so we have that. We're going to close that out. Okay. Now so the search bar is so cool. Okay, so in the search bar, I want you to type in 3 letters. Okay, Apple, Victor, Apple, AVA. Okay, so we're going to just type in AVA. Okay. Now, what's interesting about this, okay, is that we have availability sets. This is what I was looking for, right? And it's very quickly, you can search everything that has those first few letters in it, AVA availability sets. But what I want to show you here is really important to understand. This view, you have the services on the left-hand side, right? This is what Microsoft has created. On the right-hand side, over here, you have the marketplace. These are what independent software vendors have created to make some of these functions go a whole lot quicker, faster, better. But then you also have your documentation where you can go to docs.microsoft.com. Now, be careful, it's kind of confusing over there, but it could help you out. And then also some of the resources that you might already have in place. Okay, so I just want to kind of just show you that one over here. Okay, is great. But let's go ahead and exit out of that search. And let's just do one more because I want to show you. Type in the 3 letters VIR, Victor, Ivan, Rhonda, I don't know what that is, VIR, and now you can see here virtual machines, networks, machines, and just the same thing. So we're going to use this today to find resources, okay? Now let's look at the menu over here on the left-hand side. Right here we have create a resource. A lot of times docs.microsoft.com will tell you to go here to create a resource. I'm going to tell you right now, pro tip number 2, we don't use this button anymore. It's gotten kind of messy, it just doesn't, we don't use it. Okay, so don't do that. Now, what I do want to show you is pro tip number 4. Is that 4? I think we're on 4 now, right? Is the dashboard. Click on the dashboard, please. Now, I want you to just pay attention to my screen for a moment. So this is my view in my production environment. When I open up Azure, this is my view. Because I want to see all my resources here. I want to see all my resource groups here. I want to see sign-in logs. I want to see everything in here. But what I love about this is we can edit this and move stuff around very simply. So for example, I'm going to click on the edit button. If you see my cursor, big hand, right? I'm going to click on edit. And what I can do in here is just tiles, right? So I can move things around pretty easily to make them look a little bit better, right? And so I'm happy with what I have, but I can also bring in tiles right there, right? Just click and drag stuff that's over there, right? And then all I have to do is push save. And then what happens, this is my actual view. So super awesome, right? Super awesome, really cool thing. This is the pro tip. This is where you want to be. Okay. Next, this is the button that I use the most when I'm creating resources, and that's the all services button. That's the hamburger. So we click on that. And the reason why I like this, we have, these are featured, but we have free training in here, getting to know Azure. But what I really like about this is pro tip number 5, is I can base it on categories my search. So for example, if I'm looking in AI and cognitive services, right? I'm looking down here and I'm going over to AI machine learning. So I'm going to click on that. And then what I'm going to find here is all the things that are part of artificial intelligence that are coming from Microsoft. Okay, kind of cool. What if I want to look at compute? What's in compute? I click on compute. Everything that's in compute is here. Or how about networking? Big deal right here, networking. Okay, really important, right? So what I'm going to do, I want everybody now to go back to the overview tab right here. It says overview, and click on overview because we want to reset it when we search for something, we don't want it to be just in compute because we could get lost. Okay, so please, before I go to the next thing, click on overview. Okay, next is on the left-hand side, there's all resources. If you click on all resources, it'll be everything that's inside of your tenant. Okay, but you don't have a lot of this because I ring-fenced your tenants. So let me go back, and now let's get started into the lab. So we're going to click on resource groups. Okay, so this is I'm going to ask a question to the group. I'd really appreciate if I get some feedback here. Would anybody like me to explain what a resource group is and why it's fundamentally the #1 step to creating anything inside of Azure? Just give me a yes or no or a thumbs up. I'll go ahead and do that. Otherwise, we'll just create a resource, or we'll go to the next step. Okay, Jim. All right. Okay. So this is actually a real pay attention moment here. Okay, so let's give you the layperson's terms. Imagine you're building a skyscraper. Okay, thank you guys, appreciate it. Imagine you're building a skyscraper. Okay, and below the skyscraper is all the people, all your materials, your machinery, your crane, your cement trucks, right? And all people's vehicles, right? But when you're building this, you notice, wait, there's no fence around it, right? And then right next door, your company is also building another skyscraper, and they have all their materials and all their issues, right? All their stuff that's helping build that skyscraper, but there's no fence around that. What is the main problem that we will have if we actually had that scenario, right? I'll type the message in here. We'd have confusion, right? Confusion in a resource group, right? So what a resource group is basically saying, hey, around that skyscraper, we're going to build a fence. It's a fence that goes around, right? Okay, we have a fence. That's what the resource group is. Now, let me explain something else. Now, inside this fence, we have a gate. Okay, that's the virtual network, right? But inside this fence, you know, we have two different buildings that are being built. Do we want to allow the employees to go anywhere they want? No, we don't. We want this certain number of employees that are working on this resource group, okay, to be allowed only in to this construction site, okay? And that's kind of why you only have access to one resource group, because what we did is we just gave you individual access to one resource group is one thing, okay? Now, there's a reason why we want to do this, right? We want to have those construction workers, or the people that are building this tower, okay, or VM or whatever we're doing, okay? We only want to allow them to have access to that. I mean, do we want to have our construction, you know, our construction workers having access to the corporate headquarters to come and go as they please, to the presidents? No, we don't. Well, that's the same thing of how you build something in Azure. Fundamental first step is we're creating a fence, and we're going to create a policy so that people cannot just come and go. We only want to monitor certain people. And then number two, we want to say, hey, those people are only allowed to do certain things. Okay. That is a fundamental first step, and people don't do that. They end up allowing people to get access to their whole Azure environment, and it is #1 problem that we see. Okay, so feedback, does that make sense to everybody? And also the security piece of it, just give me a yes, a thumbs up. Makes sense now. Okay, awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you, Jay, really appreciate that. Okay, so we've already created your first one. Okay, so now the next fundamental first step is we want to create a virtual network. So what I want you to do, I want everybody to go up to where it says all services on the top left-hand corner, and we're going to click all services. Okay. Now, when we click on all services, we were already there before, right? I want you to scroll to the right, and where you see the button that says virtual networks. And I want you to click on that. We're going to open that up. Okay. Now, we had some other ones that weren't cleared out, unfortunately, but we'll take care of that, no problem. So what I want us to do here, okay, is that what I want us to do is go ahead and click on, there's a button called Create. Okay, everybody click on Create. Okay. Now, when we're in Create, now these things are, you would think page 1, page 2, but let me explain, these are called blades, blade 1 and blade 2. Okay, so now we're in blade 2, and as you can see here, we have a wizard. basics, IP addresses. Just look at you can look at my screen, security, tags, and review. When we're in Azure, we're going to start in these portals. We start on the left and we go to the right. Okay. So this is a fundamental building block, right? We want to have a private network that we're creating, okay? I have access to that construction project, basically. Okay. So the first thing it's going to ask us, and we need to understand what it is it's going to ask us what our subscription is. So we're going to go from top to bottom here, okay? So we want to keep it as Microsoft Azure. Okay. Next, it's going to ask us what resource group do we want to put that virtual network in. Remember, we created, or the one was created for you. So I want you to use the downward arrow, okay? And I want you to select your resource group. So if you were CIE, for example, like Alan is CIE 13. So you're looking for CIE 13 RSG, okay? I'm going to put it into info RSG because my name is info. That's my sandbox environment. So once again, resource group is here. It's going to ask us where to put the virtual network. So we click on the downward chevron and select your resource group, and that's where it's going to be. Okay. Now let's give it a name. Okay, we're just going to type in virtual network 01. Okay, as a name, VN01. Now, the next thing that's in there is called region, right? And the region is very important to understand because you don't want it to be too far. You want to be closest to your central headquarters as possible. Okay, so we have region here. Okay, and we want to go ahead and push. After you put the region there, I want you to go to see where it says IP addresses. That's the next tab. We're going to click on IP addresses. Okay, so now a lot of us don't know a lot about IP addresses. Some of us do, right? The beauty of this one is it actually assigns it already for us. So it gives us an IP address, and then it also gives us a subnet, okay? We can change this if we wanted to, but I'm just going to allow it to just leave that alone. But I want to show you. So if you could just direct your attention to my window here, so I can just show you mine. I just want to show you a couple things here. I can actually create my own 10.2.0.0/24. And when I create that, it gives me a checkbox, right? But let me show you something else here. And this is why I want to do it. What if I want to make a Frankenstein? Okay, 2454. It'll automatically in the wizard, it will not allow you to do it. Okay, love it. Love this part. So we're just going to push delete there. Okay. Now, what we're going to do now, after we have it in there, no problem. I want you to click on security. Okay. Now in security, we're going to leave this alone. Okay. We're not going to touch many of these things. If you're creating a website that's going to have hundreds of thousands of people there, then you want to turn on DDoS protection. However, do not do that right now because the cost of that is about $800 a month just for DDoS. And it says standard, right? But that's really the advanced. Okay. Next, click on tags. And we're not going to do tags at all today. It'll take about 12 minutes to explain tags to you. Today, we're always going to skip tags. Okay. Next, there's a review and create button. I want you to click on review and create tab. And what it does here in these portals, it's going to give you validation passed. And then it's going to give you create. Now, see where my cursor is, bottom left-hand corner? I want you to go ahead and push create. Now you're going to get this next page. Deployment is in progress. Now your deployment is complete. Awesome. Now this is our first exercise where we come back to the chat window and type in GTG. Good to go. I am there. I'm complete. So when you're complete, come over here and type in GTG, and then we'll get to the next exercise. All right, Mike, Bill, Jay. Let's see, anybody else? None. All right, great job. Great job, everyone. Great job. All right. Okay, so we built this resource group and we put the virtual network in. Awesome. What is the next step? The next step is called an availability set. Okay, we want to spread the risk of our virtual machines, okay, from going down, because sometimes there's a fault issue, right? Or sometimes there's a update and we got to be careful. So the first thing I'm going to do, go up to the search window. And once again, we're just typing AVA, Apple, Victor, Apple. Then we push enter. Availability sets. So go to the search window, type in AVA, go to availability sets. Okay. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and push the create button. Top left-hand corner, create. Now in here, it's going to give us availability sets. Okay. So for example, the first thing we do, remember we have this wizard here. We look at the subscription to make sure it's the same subscription. Then our next thing is to click on the resource group. So I'm going to go down, I'm selecting my info RSG. Now I'm making sure, remember, we're taking our product and putting everything into the same resource group so it all speaks to each other, it all connects. Okay, then let's give it a name. Let's give it AVA set and put it all in caps 02. AVA set 02, number 2. And I'll copy and paste this in the chat window if you need it. Okay. Resource group, AVA set 02, the region West. Now let's talk about these next two things, fault domains, right? We want to make sure our virtual machine can rest on a separate set of servers or racks. I don't want to share the same power, right? Electricity, right? And connectivity. We want to spread our risk. So we always want to do 2, okay? But also update domains, you think, well, I want to do 2 as well. You don't, because sometimes Microsoft will update 2 to 3 servers at a time at the same time, and you don't want to be down. So you always want to have a minimum 5. Fault domains 2, update domains 5. All right, and then use managed disk. That's already going to be default. You're fine. Now let's click on advanced. Nothing in advanced. Click on tags. Remember, we're skipping tags, and go straight to review and create. And then push create. Okay, I've got a new poll I'm going to launch here while we're doing this, because our very next one is we're actually going to be deploying the virtual machine, and that's a pay attention stage, right? So the question is, at what stage are you in the cloud journey? I'm fully migrated to the cloud, I'm currently in the hybrid cloud environment, or I'm not in the cloud yet, but thinking about migrating. Okay, this is good. This is good. So go ahead and just answer that. Be interested to see where people are in their journey. There's a lot of different ones, right, that are out there. So it looks good. Okay, currently have a hybrid. Awesome, awesome. This is really great. So 4 out of you actually have a hybrid cloud environment, which is great. And then there's 2 that I'm thinking about moving to it. So now for those who are thinking about moving to it, no, I'm still on-prem. Okay, interesting, right? So we got some very interesting telemetry here. So our very next thing, we're deploying a virtual machine. And for those who haven't migrated, those who are still on-prem, pay special attention. I'll call out the areas to pay special attention, because I want to make sure that if you are heading this up, okay, that your project is done correctly in the format that's going to save your reputation and potentially your job, just in case, right? Okay. Hey, Jonas, great to see you, sir. We are in about a few minutes into our lab right now. So thanks for coming, and let us know if you have any questions, Jonas. Okay. So, oh, we have one that's fully migrated to the cloud. I love to hear that. I love to hear that. Okay. So what we're going to do here on my window that you see, I want you to go over to the All Resources tab. Remember when the hamburger on the top left-hand corner, click on that hamburger. Okay. Is there a lab guide to run through for this? Had some interruptions during the virtual network setup? No, Jared, hey, man, we're great on time. Let me help you. No problem. Okay. So Jared, actually, and everybody just, this is a good thing, right? Because we can just reiterate what we're doing. So Jared, go to the all services. Remember that all services hamburger, okay? Go over, see it says virtual network, click on virtual network. And yes, I do have a guide that I will send you at the conclusion of this to help you guys out. And then go to create. I'm just going to run through this again. So we're in the create function. Jared, can you see my screen? Just let me know, just so I can make sure that we're on the same track together. Okay, awesome. So in here, basics, right? We have the subscription, we have the resource group. Select the one that you've been provided, whoever you are. Mine is info RSG, so I'm selecting mine, but select yours. And which one was Jared's? Phil, can you let him know? Just make sure. Okay, now the next thing is just give it a name. So AVA, oh no, excuse me, VN02, VN02, put that in there. Okay. VN02, that's the name. Okay. Now you click on IP addresses, and in here, it's already default. You're okay. Okay, so just leave it default. Gives you the IP address and the subnet. Totally fine. Okay. Now, actually, that's all you're going to need to know. So just go down to see which says review and create. Go ahead and click on that button. It'll validate it, and then click on it again, and then it'll be create. Let me know when you're good. Okay, so are you good, Jared? Are we good? Okay, resource group name. Hold on a second. Phil, are you there? Let's see.
Yeah, man.
What is Jim's resource group name? Or what is his credential? Your CIE 5.
Okay.
Your CIE 5. Oh no, you're Jared. I'm sorry. What is Jared's credential? It might be 11. Yes, it's CIE 11. I'm sorry. It's CIE 11. Jared.
That's 11.
Okay, awesome. Then just go review and create, and you're good. Okay. All right. So for everybody now, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just cancel this sucker out here. I don't need to do that one. Okay. So now, and Jared, you're good. We just push that. It'll go review, create. It'll be completed. I want everybody to go back to the all services tab where we were, and we're going to type in. See, there's not type in, but there's a button that says virtual network or virtual machine. I want you to click on that. Okay. Okay. So here you go. So now let's go to create the virtual machine. The top left-hand corner. Create the virtual machine. And then now you're going to have the actual wizard. So this is the one that we got to pay attention to. Okay. Because it can be very, this is the one. Okay. All right here. And let me go ahead and I'm going to mute that. Okay, perfect. Okay. So we're here at the create a virtual machine. So we have the wizard, basic, disk, networking, management, advanced, tags, and review. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to go down, and I'm going to show you there's a lot of pitfalls here. Okay, there's a lot of things. So the very first thing is our subscription. Remember, we just make sure that's there. Our second step is our resource group. So go ahead and select your resource group. Mine is info RSG. Yours is CIE 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. So we select that under resource group. Next, we need to give it a name. Demo Lab VM01. I'll put that into the window if you want to, into the chat window, so you can copy and paste it if you want to. As you can see, I put that in there. Demo Lab VM01. Okay. Now, right below it, okay, as you can see here, right below it, I'm looking at the region, right? I'm looking at the region, and I'm going to leave it as West US 2, okay? Next is the one below that is availability options. And I'm kind of showing that. Okay, availability options. Now remember where we created that availability set. So I want you to click on the actual arrow here. Okay. And then when you're on and then select, there's availability zone and there's availability set. What we're doing is looking at the availability set. Okay. So click on availability set. Now, when we did that, it created a new drop down. It's going to ask you what set do you want, right? Okay, well, let's click the downward chevron and it says AVA set 02. Okay. Make sure that it says AVA set 02. Okay. Next, don't worry about security type. We're going to leave it there. This is a new window that just came in. Okay. But now what I want you to show you is the image. The next one is image. And if you want to look at my screen, I'm kind of highlighting it right here, image. Okay. I want you to click the downward arrow on the image. We click on that. And then now the reason I'm showing this is, you know, Microsoft, 53% of all the machines at Microsoft, okay, are Linux based. So we could select other images that we want to deploy, right? We can submit Windows 2016 or 2012, 16 or 19. We're going to leave it alone with Windows Server 2019. We click on that. Okay. I'm going to just pause here, make sure we're all good. Resource group, availability set, perfect, perfect. Okay. Now this thing right here called Azure Spot Instance is unused Azure resources. You're only going to use this when you're doing like a test dev stuff. Don't worry about it. Okay. So we're not going to check it here. But now let's talk about the biggest mistake everyone makes. Not everyone, but 90% of the people that are migrating to the cloud do. Okay. So see where it says size and see where it says standard D4 BS3. We're going to start here. This is called the proof of concept VM. That's how I call it. But I want everybody to click on see all sizes. Okay. Now let's talk about this. When we built servers in the past, we built them based on capacity, right? We always built them with 30% more capacity. Why? Because a lot of our servers, the applications needed more memory every time there was an update, right? Pain in the butt. Cloud comes around, and all of a sudden we've seen a mass exodus of a majority of our applications that are on our servers, right? So maybe, you know, we're running something, but we don't have the Exchange server anymore, right? We don't have the QuickBooks server anymore. Now it's online, right? QuickBooks Online, right? We don't have a lot of different things. Everything's online. The ERP system is no longer on your server. It's actually online, right? In a lot of cases. So the way our methodology of building servers is not the way you do it in Azure. 100%, let me tell you. The first thing you should always understand is proof of concept. Anything you do inside a cloud, it's always elastic. You can go up and down, no problem, but you start with a proof of concept. I teach this every single day to, you know, at minimum 60 people a day in our high level courses. It's just, you start small, okay? You start small, okay? Now, second thing is you have to understand what you're actually migrating to the cloud. Now, if it's a file server, not a big deal, right? File server, we're gonna need access to it. It's not really burning up a whole lot, cost X amount of dollars per month, fine, okay? But what if you have a SQL server that's on-prem? You're running it 24 hours a day on-prem, but really, if you looked at the telemetry, when is it actually running? It's probably only running 2 to 3 hours a day, right? Reconciling transactions, updating the cubes, doing whatever it's doing, right? And now if you're trying to take that SQL server and take it from your on-prem and put it in the cloud at a 24-hour a day clip, you're going to have a rude awakening with the cost, okay? So types of applications is very necessary to understand before you actually do anything, okay? But you also want to start small, okay? So that's the kind of like explanation of that. You have to understand it. So what we're really going to be doing, okay, and this is the guidance that I would give, is first, we have to understand how many VMs that we have on-prem. We have to understand, you know, what type of uses there is, what there is, and then we have to understand what's called reserved instance, Okay, so what reserved instance really is, it's saying, look, we're going to reserve these resources for a set number of hours, set number of time for a year. We get a deep discount, but we know like our SQL Server is not running 24 hours a day. So we don't need to have it ambiguous. We can just say, but the beauty of that reserved instance, we just turn it up or turn it down. Not a big deal, right? But we get a reduced rate, a significantly reduced rate if we understand what we're actually doing. That's what fundamentals here. These are fundamentals, okay? People always say, well, I can't understand the cost. I can't do this. Well, you're not ever going to. It's elastic. It's up and down. We don't, every VM is different. So we start small, okay? So if you have 5 or 6 VMs, what we would do is how we do it is we run a script on your Azure tenant, or actually on your on-prem tenant. And that script is read-only, and it figures out what you got, and it kind of gives you an idea of what you want to do in Azure. But first and foremost, this is what we do. Okay, now if you understand that concept, let me explain this to you. So any one of these Ds and Bs are what are called general purpose. This is very simple stuff. Like I'm going to move it over, okay? But the reason why we select D4SV3, and this is important, is because when you select D4SV3, it's about $274 a month. You now have access to deploy anything in Azure, okay? Some of these smaller ones don't have enough power to deploy some of the bigger events. So I always tell, my guidance is whenever a customer comes and asks me to help assess the situation, help understand what to do, I'm like, first, okay, we're going to have D4SV3. Okay, so we click on that. But now what I want you to do is I need some feedback here. I need you guys to help me out. Okay, this is going to help us imprint it. Imagine, so Microsoft also creates series and letters based on the type of VM that you need. Different things need different things. So if you have high performance compute or you have something. So I need somebody here to tell me what series would I go to first if I had an application that had high memory needs. Okay, it's in the description. So let me know. Somebody come back to the chat window and let me know what they found. Where would I go if I had a high memory need application and I needed to find a series? So which series would I select? Would it be the D series, the B series? If I had high memory needs, which one would I select? Anybody? Venture a guess? Would it be the L series, the D series, the B series? EV4. Yes, thank you, Bill. All right, so look at this. So let's click on that arrow. Okay, click on the arrow. Notice the CPUs are like a Tyrannosaurus X arms, like you're atrophied, but then the memory, the legs are huge, right? So look at that, right? So awesome. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, what if I had high performance compute needs? What if I'm running like video rendering, and I need it quick, I need it fast, but I need a ton of it. Okay, I need a ton of resources. Where would I find the high performance compute series? Which series would I select? H, Jared, yes, look at that one. High performance compute, right? But when you click on that downward chevron, do you see this? 44 CPUs, 352 gigs of RAM. That's only $3,700. Right? Holy crap, right? It's a lot. So just be careful. Be very, 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 very careful with these things. And that's why I want to show you, this is what you have to understand. The biggest problem people make is they look at their server and they look at what they have and what they're using, and they're like, oh yeah, and they come over here and then they sign up for this HC44, but they didn't see the price. And next thing you know it, they've got a $4,000 bill at the end of the month, right? And so you always start small, make sure it works, and then you push it up. Okay, so for example, let's go back. We're D4 VS3, great job. Okay, select that. Okay. Now, I'm going to send another poll here. This is really important. The pricing piece of it is so important. So now I'm going to put in, now, do you understand how to size a virtual machine when we're looking at my method of the proof of concept? So please combine, just go ahead and vote on that one. Just want to make sure that we're good on that one. Okay, looks like we're good. Okay, thank you. Okay, awesome. All right, good, good. I explained it. Okay. You hate it when you got like everyone saying not sure. No. Okay. Let's get to the next one. Okay. So let's go to our username. I'm going to type it in here. It's going to be demo user, okay, is our name, and our password I'm putting in the chat window, password.one bang bang, okay? So I want you to put that in here, username, demo user, demouser, and then the password. Okay, so I'm putting those two in here, okay? So we're going to allow the selected inbound ports, IP addresses. RDP, okay, that was already there, sorry. Okay, now, has anybody, do you guys understand what the hybrid use benefit is? Let me see if anyone, you probably don't, but let me explain this to you. Okay, this is one of the benefits of going with Azure over AWS. When you're in AWS, you have to buy a server license for the cloud, and then you have to buy a server license for on-prem. You're double paying. Here in Azure, if you already have Windows Data Center 2012 or 16, older ones, right? And you want to upgrade it. You come to Azure and you say, look, you check this box that says, yes, I understand. I have a server license with software assurance. Really important. Okay. Then you say, I confirm. Now, what I'm going to show you here is when we click on this, notice the price right there went from $270 to $140. So if you already have servers, you should be checking this box. And if nobody told you this, okay, time to switch partners, time to look with somebody who really knows what they're doing. Okay, I'm telling you this right now. If they didn't tell you this, and now you're vastly overpaying, okay, for this. Now, I'm going to tell you the last benefit of this. Remember you had that old subscription, right? Well, if you click on this and you provision this tenant, you can now download the latest copy to replace your on-prem copy without having to pay any extra fees. It's beautiful. It's an absolute beautiful thing. Okay. I'm gonna send out a poll here, okay? Is I want to make sure that we understand the hybrid use benefit, okay? And let me see, let me go ahead and push this one out here. Has your organization taken advantage of the hybrid use benefit? I'm curious to know if anyone here understands it or doesn't know it, or maybe you don't know about it, and that's fine. So we have a couple yeses here. Okay, cool. Let's see. We have no. Okay, that's fine. It's okay. Now you know, right? Now you know. So that's cool. Okay, 3 yes. Okay, 1 no. All right. If you want to learn more, put no, but I'd like to learn exactly how we do it. Happy to go ahead and share with that on there. Okay. Super cool. Okay. Just want to make sure that we're good on that. Okay. Now, what I want to do here is we go to next to disks. Okay. Because now you're given an OS disk, meaning that you actually already been provided the OS disk, right? But then we have the encryption, then the data disk. We need to add a data disk. So if you scroll down, you see on my screen, I'm kind of pushing the selection arrow. If you click create and attach a new disk, click on that. Okay. So we have name, data disk, right? Secure type, empty disk, leave it alone. We're just going to leave this alone, and we just go okay, bottom left-hand corner, okay, push okay. Okay. Now it's actually provided demo lab VM is already graded in there. Awesome. Super simple, super easy way. Now let's go to networking. Click on the next one to networking. Okay. Okay. So with networking, if you notice here, okay, my virtual network, I got the wrong one. Okay, so I'm going to select VN01. Okay, so your VNet, just make sure you select your virtual network. Okay. That it should come in as default actually, but in case, select it. Next, it's your subnet is automatically being pulled in here. So that's awesome, right? Okay. Next is the public IP address. You want the VM to create this for you. Checkbox, super awesome. Okay. Now I want you to pay attention to this next thing, and I highlighted it, really important, okay? This is called a network security group. This is where we create inbound and outbound security roles. So I want you to click on the advanced button. Thank you, Bill. It'll be available for you for about another few hours, and we'll send you the recording and do a follow-up with you. Okay, Bill? Thanks so much for coming. Really do appreciate it. And we'll talk to you. Thanks again. Appreciate your time. All right, the advanced, and make sure it says NSG. This is where we do it. Okay. Then we just skip. We go through management. There's nothing in management. There's nothing in advanced, nothing in tags. And then we go to review and create. Now, what's happening is he says validation has passed. So if any one of you has made a mistake here, it'll say validation failed. And then there'll be a little red dot next to where it failed. Okay. So, and then if you don't have anything and you have the green, I want you to go to the bottom left-hand corner, the blue button where it says create, and I want you to click on create. Okay. Now, is anybody here got stuck? Do you have anybody validation failed before I push create? So I want to be able to go back and show you. Okay. Now go ahead and push create and then come to the chat window. Make sure I didn't lose you guys. Give me a GTG, good to go, that you're actually, when your deployment is in progress, come back here to the window and type in GTG. We are so close, everyone. We are so close. The mic's in, awesome. Okay, thank you, Mike. Thanks for the feedback. Jared, all right, buddy. All right. Let's see who else is good. None, all right, or known. I'm sorry. Please forgive me if I butchered the name. Okay. Now our deployment should be complete. Anybody else here? Let's see. Or how about this? I'll give it like 5 seconds. If you're stuck, go to just tell me I'm stuck, and then I'll help you walk you through it. Okay. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right. Now, next we have to do this. So for disaster recovery, let me explain something to you. Microsoft has 4 nines sometimes, or 3 nines, sometimes 4 nines, depending if you have availability stats and a couple different things. However, Microsoft says, look, if the machine goes down because it's our problem, we already have a replication for you. It'll automatically switch over to the failure point, right? No problem. But if it's down, we'll pay you every day for the amount of money that you would have spent with us, but there's no remuneration for, like loss of business, right? So it's just the number of days that you're down, for your stuff. Number 2, when Microsoft says, look, you're not backed up. Your stuff in the cloud is not backed up. So what we're going to show you here is how to back up your virtual machine, okay, and create those. So what I want you to do is go over to the search bar on the top, and I want you to type in RECO, short for a Recovery Services Vault. Recovery Services Vault. We're creating a vault. We're going to be storing images, like just slices, right? Slices of images, right, that are going to be there. So go ahead and click on Recovery Services Vault. And then next, we're going to go to Create. So the top left-hand corner, Create. Okay. Now, in here, this is a very simple one, okay? Because you're just creating a vault and we're attaching it to the resource group that we have. So first one is making sure our subscription is correct. Next one is our resource group. Okay, so I'm selecting my resource group. And then I'm going to give it a name. RECO V01. Recovery RECO V01. Okay. And then I'm going to push review and create. And create. Cool thing about this one is it takes about 5 seconds to complete. All right. Now that we're complete, we're awesome. Okay. So Now, what we want to do is we want to go to our virtual machine. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to see where it says resource groups on your left-hand side, your menu bar. Click on resource groups and select your resource group. Okay, so we're going to go into it. Okay. Now on my screen, you see all of my assets that we've provisioned. I have 2 different virtual machines in here, right? But I've got all of my assets. This is where all my stuff is, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm looking for my demo lab VM01. I want to click on that. Because we want to get into the actual virtual machine. Now we're in the virtual machine. This is deployed. So congratulations, we deployed it, but we need to do a couple things to it first. Okay. So this is the overview. This is your public IP address, right? Demo lab, blah, blah, blah. There we go. We have that there. On your left-hand side is where your settings are. We could add more disks if we wanted to right here. If we wanted to add more, we could also increase the size of the disk if we want to add more size to it, right? There's some security there, but what I want you to do is I want you to go to where it says backup. Because I want to show you how we can back up this VM. Now, I don't want you to turn on the backup, please, because there's a soft delete. There's a 14-day issue with this thing, so please don't do that, okay? So click on backup. Okay. Now, here we would be selecting the existing, right? That's in our, and that was Rico V1. So I would select my existing. And then you see where it says default policy? This is the policy. So it's going to back up daily at 4 a.m. UTC, instant restore, retention with a backup, daily backup point. Doesn't cost you very much. It doesn't cost, it's pennies, okay, to do this. And then what you would do is you would, now don't do it, enable the backup, okay? And then now, no problem, they always have this. And you can always go to that section, right? And then you can also go to, disaster recovery if you wanted to, with Azure Site Recovery. Okay, we can do something like that. All right. I'm going to pause here. What I want us to do actually is go up to the top left-hand corner where it says overview. I want you to click on that overview. Okay. Now we're here. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to give it a few minutes. Or no, just a minute or so. Awesome. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do here is we need to connect to the machine. Okay. So for some of you, you might have some pretty high security. They won't let you RDP into something, but for the most majority of us, we can. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to the connect link here. So where it says connect, it's a little link, top left-hand corner. We're clicking on, and then we're going to select RDP. Okay. It's going to ask us to download the RDP file. Click on that. Okay. Now for me, it's on, I'm using Edge? Or am I using? Yeah, I'm using Edge. So on the bottom left hand is just go ahead and click on your downloads. Okay. And it's going to open up this connection. And what we're going to do is we want to connect to the remote desktops. We're going to get into it. So connect, it's connecting to, and it's going to ask us for our user credentials here in just a second. Okay, so I got an error. I think I'm in the wrong demo lab VM01. 1 second. Let me go to the next one. Where is my virtual machine? Okay. So I'm going to connect RDP. It's going to ask me for my credentials, demo user. My password, PASSWORD.1 bang bang. Okay, see that? And then push OK. And it's going to say yes, doesn't trust it because it's brand new, no problem. And then, dun, da, da, da. We have this completed. We did it. We deployed a virtual machine to this. And there is a yes. So we could do that. But now we've deployed it. And what I like to do, the server manager comes up. And what I always like to do first and foremost, I always do this. I check on the my file explorer to make sure that my data disk is attached, and it is. And now we're awesome. We're in great shape. Okay. All right. So you guys have made it. Did you, who completed it? Give me a thumbs up or say yes, or I'm good to go. Mike, all right. Good job, brother. Yes, did it. You're in, you're done. Okay, anybody else? Tad, good to go. All right, Tad. All right, Jared, fantastic. Okay, okay. So let me we can go back to this. So let me explain kind of how we you know, for customers who are looking to go to to Microsoft, or going to migrate to Microsoft, or optimize their environment. So the first thing that we actually use, there's two different ways. We use a tenant called the Azure Migrate appliance. So I want everybody to go. I want to just show you this over here. Type in Migrate, migrate. Okay. But you're probably wondering, okay, well, how do I go to the cloud, right? You're like, well, how do I do this, right? So this, I'm going to show you how we help customers first plan and then migrate. Okay, so click on Azure Migrate. Okay, so there's two different tools here. There's an assessment tool and a migrate tool. Okay, so the one here is Discover, Assess, and Migrate. I want you to click on this one. Okay. Now, when you click on that one, there's two ways of doing it. Okay, there's the assessment tool, and then there's a migrate server tool. But we can also do this for web apps, for databases here, VDI, web apps, data box. We can do it all for that using these tools. So what I wanted to just kind of talk about, there's probably two ways to do it. One is we use a migrate appliance that we're talking here, that we actually download an agent onto your server. Okay, the server then basically just watches the telemetry for about 2 weeks. Okay, sign-ins, you know, usage, this stuff, nothing with the PII or anything to do with the data, just watches that. Okay, and then spits out a report. Okay, that's what this is. And then after it spits out a report, and what the report has, it tells you, okay, out of these 10 VMs that you have right now, 6 of them are ready to go to Azure. These other 4 need some remediation. We need to fix a few things before we can migrate it. Then after that, the next bucket is, okay, what type of virtual machines would you like, you know, do we recommend for this workload? Because based on what we measured over the last 2 weeks, we can understand, okay, this is where we want to go to. But I always give the guidance like, okay, this is the target. Thank you for the target, but we're still starting small. But thank you very much for the target, because now this helps me budget what a full implementation of it. And it also takes advantage of your current of reserved instance and hybrid use benefit. This is the way to go. Okay. So then it gets us a report, and then great. Then we can decide. Now, when we're decided and like, yeah, okay, well, maybe out of these 10 VMs, I'm only going to do 2. Okay. No problem. Sounds good. Right. Then we go to the migration tool. And since we have everything already set up and connected, right, then what we do is we discover what we want to do, and then we do a replicate. So we basically just suck up a replication of that server VM or VM, right? Put it in here in Azure, and then we test it for a couple of days, making sure it works, all right? And then when it works, then we do migrate. So you can see here, it's discover, right? And then assess and overview, discover, replicate, migrate. Okay. So what I'm going to show you, just last thing here, just to show you, click on the Discover button so you can understand it just a little bit better, okay? Discover. So the beautiful thing about here is that we can discover any type of virtual machine. So I can click on this downward chevron, we can do vSphere, Hyper-V, or we can do any of the AWS, GCP, Zen, etc. But I'm going to click on, I'm going to say maybe it's Hyper-V, okay? Because you already have a server here. And then we give it a name, simple as, test appliance, right? And then we would generate, oh, we have to have it, okay, we'll do test, and we generate a key, okay? So what happens is we get a key. So this takes a while. We're not going to have time to look at it. We get this key, and then this last thing right here, I'm going to show you right here, says download Azure Migrate Appliance. So we would take that and we download it onto your server. And after it's downloaded, we open the application and we click and drag the virtual machines in there, right? And then now it's measuring. Now it's just measuring. It's very simple. Okay, very simple. Okay. So we can, this is the best way. So when we downloaded this, right, and the key's still coming up, right? It's got a key. So we have to take that key and we put it inside this agent so that we can connect it to Azure. Okay, that's really the mechanics of it in the background. Now, if you're thinking about moving to the cloud, this is what we do to start. This is my guidance. I teach this every day, okay, on what to do and how to do it, okay? This is my guidance on that. Okay, so there's another way of doing it where we can just run a script inside of your Azure environment, right? We can just basically run a small script. We get into your Cloud Shell. We would actually put it in here. It's a small script. It runs, spits out a report and says, hey, this is what you already have in Azure. Okay, what do you think? Okay, so that's a very simple way. Now, the third way, and this is something for those who actually have Azure currently or have already migrated or have a hybrid environment, I would bet you, and I'm not a big betting person, okay, but so I bet you $1 because I know I'm going to win this $1, that your environment is not optimized, okay? You've provisioned stuff that you're wasting a lot of money on, and I can almost guarantee it. Probably over provisioned by, so I see this every day, by about 30%, okay? What we run is a Azure optimization workshop where we can come in and take a look at whatever you have inside of Azure. First thing is and it's a read-only, so we don't actually have no agent that we deploy. It's read-only, ties into your licensing, and it'll basically scan and give us real-time results on what you're using, why you're using it, how much you're spending. They don't give us an optimization. You really shouldn't be using that. You should be using reserved instance. You should be using hybrid use benefit. You should be using this, these different items. It'll give us that telemetry and give us suggestions on what to do, but it'll monitor it every single day over the next 12 months. It's super awesome. Secondly, it'll also monitor all of your Office 365 licensing. Anything you have in Office 365, that's usually a big bear, right, of what, how to monitor stuff. It'll actually say what you've oversubscribed to or what you haven't. And then lastly, it'll give you compliance alerts. Hey, these folks don't have MFA enabled. These folks don't have all this stuff. So it gives you a real way to kind of control it. So that's kind of how we go about helping customers inside of Azure if they've over deployed it, or maybe they maybe they did, or maybe they didn't, right? What we help them understand, asset optimization is the key. And there's really no other company that actually can do that for Azure today, actually in the whole country. But we have a product that we can actually use, and it's agentless, and we can help you optimize it and find other ways to use it. Okay, so just want to let you know that, right? We can do that for you. It's low code. There's no code. There's no real cost to it. It really is it's literally like 4 clicks, and then we can watch it for 2 weeks, and it's read only. So we can manage your assets. I don't know if that's a big thing for you guys. Why don't you try to figure out how do I optimize my Azure environment or optimize my Office 365 licensing? But if it is, let us know because we can help you out. Okay, so we have this last thing I'm going to put in here. I want to just talk about this, and I'm going to put in here. Would you be interested in an Azure optimization assessment? So this is what I was kind of just talking about. No problem. This is no, yes, maybe more. I need more information. Please follow up with me. Totally fine. just to kind of help you, understand what you have and how to actually utilize it the best. Okay, so I'm going to let that just sit in there. No problem, but we'll follow up with you. Just say yes, no, no, please follow up. Now, the other thing too is a Cloud Journey workshop. And this is what Tad and his group does, is they'll actually sit with you for about, about 6 hours. And inside that workshop, what they do is actually do a discovery, which is let's discover your business strategy, 1 hour business strategy, 1 hour of security, like let's understand all your security aspects, 1 hour of network infrastructure, what do we move, right? 1 hour of business applications. And then in that workshop, they spit out a report basically for you, okay? A report. And that report allows you to, it's called the Cloud Journey report, where it's like, okay, over the next 6 to 12 months, now you have a roadmap of everything that you need to do. What are the priorities? Boom, boom, boom. And then after that, if you want to use them to do it, then you can. But more importantly, you have access to the workshop. So I'm going to go ahead and put there. Any questions about either one of those? You can come off of mute. You can ask a question. Let me know, and I'll pause here for just a moment. Okay. Let me go ahead and throw up the last one. If you're interested in the Cloud Journey assessment, that's all. Very simple. We'd really appreciate it. Yeah, if you could just vote on that one, it'd be great. Last one to vote on. Thank you so much, everybody here. This has been really awesome. What did you guys think about the session? Did you like it? Like the way that we did this? Because we offer security, we offer, we offer a bunch of other ones too. Don't know if you'd be interested in those, but come to the chat window, let me know, or come off mute. Just let me know what your thoughts. Love any feedback. Okay, perfect. All right, Tad, you wanna chime back in here and wrap it up?
Yep, just wanted to thank everyone for attending. I'll be following up with y'all over the next few days to see if you'd like some more information. And great job, Crancer Group. It was very educational today and informative. Thank you. Yeah,
you're welcome. So with that being said, I want to say thanks again for coming today. Really, we got to a lot, got to explaining things. No toast in this toaster, right? I'm just here to help you understand things and like the pitfalls, and hopefully go forward, tippy toe in there, right? Tippy toe in the environment and get it going. And then, when Tad follows up with you, he'll send you a calendar invite, and he'll actually probably get me involved as well. I'll come to just help. First conversation is always just like, let's just, and then I'll follow up too for my Azure Direct tenant. So you'll see an email from Azure Direct that will also have the recording as well as the walkthrough for you. Okay, so I want to make sure. But Jonas, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Jim, thank you. Bill, everybody here, Aaron, Jared, Jay, Kat, Brandon, thanks all for being here. Really appreciate it. Have a great afternoon, and we'll talk to you again soon. All right, take care. Bye-bye.